Hey everybody, this is Toby Yonis with Garage Prospecting, and what you see in front of you is samples from two different sources. This source was the Misskimoson's Blue Tundra Delight, and these are the tailings that were derived from that run. And then these are the tailings that were derived from the run of the Arroyo San Pedro in New Mexico. Each of them produced gold. This one well over an ounce, like an ounce and a third. This one produced gold, but certainly not enough to actually weigh it. I would call it, I think it was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 flakes. But that's what you expect when you take a quarter bucket or a third of a bucket from an arroyo in New Mexico. I have a plan for them. I recently purchased a Dream Mat combo mat. And I'll show it to you in a moment, and I'll compare it to the mat that was previously in the aluminum sluice. And I want to run both these samples through it to test it and to see if in either case we produce more gold. I don't have, of course, as big a sample with the Misskimoson's Blue Tundra Delight, but I think I'll run this one first, pull out the mat, see if there's anything in there, and then run this one a second time because they're so different. I want to show you how different. Let's actually look at them under the microscope. So these are the two samples under the microscope. What you're looking at right now is the sample that came from Alaska, Misskimoson. So I'll just call it the Alaska sample from now on. And you can see in that sample there is some quartz, some mica, some magnetite and or hematite, but lots of iron-stained rocks. I mean, it looks like it came from a mine sample. And what you see in the way of quartz is usually the more cloudy quartz, which is not what you'll find in an arroyo, and I'll show you that in just a second. But all that iron, all that orange in there is from iron, and the black, of course, are either the hematite, the sulfides, hematite or magnetite, and then the shiny stuff is mica. So there's a lot of that kind of material in it. There is some quartz, but again, it's iron stained. It has that kind of orange color, and it's cloudy. It's rare that you see, the crystal clear quartz. But when you look at the New Mexico sample right next to it, you'll see a big difference. It looks more like, I know it's arroyo sand, but it looks more like beach sand because it does have a lot of quartz in it. But again, I think I mentioned it when we actually ran this sample. It has some jasper, it has some feldspar, it has granite, but I want to say 75–80% of it is that quartz, and a lot of it is the crystal clear quartz. And of course, we always have the calcium carbonate, the seashell material, because at one time, this part of the country was at the bottom of a sea, the Great, I think it was called, the Great Western Seaway, something like that. You can check it, I think it was 150 million years ago. So those are the difference between the two samples. These generally are, like I said, sand-sized. The rocks that come out of Alaska are just generally a little bit bigger. So this is the material that's -10 in both cases, from -10 through -60, because I took all the tailings. All right? So let me show you now what I'm going to do with all of this stuff. Here's what I want to do. I have made some changes, improvements, I'd like to think, to the RDH Prospector sluice. I've added a couple of things. Number one, I added this aluminum crossbar to the tank, and I think the reason I cut this bottom 7 inches off a tote, and so it doesn't have any of the support that you would have if you had the full-size tote. So it was bulging as I added water to it. It was bulging right here in the middle. So I just added this. I did add some handles. You probably can't see them. You may not be able to handle or be able to see them. I did add some handles. Check that leak right there. There we go. At each end of the tub so that when it's empty, I can pick it up, everything all at once, and and move it someplace out of the way. So here's the mat, here's the dream mat that came with this RDH Prospector sluice. With what they call the power head. And as you can see, it's their full-sized receptacles. I'm sure there's some scientific name for what he calls these things. They were the full size, and I felt that with the material that I run, which is classified, you know, to a -10 before it even gets to the sluice, I just thought it was kind of big. So I ordered what is referred to as the combo sluice, which has 1/3 of the micro dream mat, 1/3 of the medium, and 1/3 of the macro large, but it's still not, even at this side, you can see it's not as big as the one that was on there. So I have an extra 6x16 dream mat, Prospector's dream mat. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to tell you how to, I'm going to give it away. And I'll tell you how to win at the end of today's program. Okay? So here's the run plan, the mining plan, as Shelley likes to call it. So this is the material from the tailings of Misskimoson's Blue Tundra Delight. And I want to run it through here to test the mat and to see if there's any additional gold. Then after I finish running that, I'll pan out whatever ends up in the mat, and then we'll run the much larger sample of New Mexico San Pedro Arroyo sand. And again, I don't know if there's any gold left in either one of these, but I thought what we could do is run them to see. Oh, the other thing I added was I added an indicator mat up here. Was just the solid aluminum, and it wasn't being very helpful, so I added the indicator mat. So made improvements, and I've got another improvement coming this weekend that I'll tell you about next week. So I have the DC power supply set to 8.0 volts, which I feel is probably enough for this run. We'll see what it looks like right at the beginning. If it's not moving fast enough or it's moving too fast, we'll modify the voltage to change the pump speed. I'm trying to see if I got anything in here at all. There is a little tiny speck right there in the indicator mat. Not a tiny speck, but a speck. And I don't see any other material. There's a little, very, very small material here. I mean, smaller than flour gold, right up along this line right here. So I'll get that out. And I don't see anything in the wells except, you know, heavy black material. But let's get it into a bucket. Well, I suppose I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is that the process that we went through to get as much gold as we could using the machinery did a pretty good job. The bad news is I'm seeing probably 30 or 40, Miller table size, oh, there's more than that, right along here. I don't know if you can see them, but it's not 30 or 40, it's actually more than that. It's a significant number, and it would take something like the Miller table to get it out, because panning it is just gonna, look at this. That's all gold along there. Again, you probably can't see it because of the light and the water and the camera. I'll take a picture of it, and we've got some more in here. There's a lot of little flower-sized gold in the indicator mat right along here. So I'm gonna have to take that out. But literally, I don't think there's enough gold in here to weigh it. But there is some, and I don't know. I don't know which of the machines. I didn't separate this. I don't know whether it was the blue bolt that missed it or the spiral or whatever. But that little tiny gold got caught in that mat. So that, I think, is the good news. I don't know. Can you guys see that? Let me see if I turn the light off. Maybe. Does that help? It's all along here. I thought it was 30 or 40, but there's hundreds. I mean, literally, it's like a, flower gold party in there, and it goes all the way up to here. So it's going to take some work to get it all out, and I just may, I don't know, put it through the blue bowl again, see what happens. All right, let me see how much of this I can get out, and then I'll come back and I'll get the gold out of here as well and see if I can get a picture for you, okay? All right, guys, and we're back. I have to tell you that between finishing up the last scene and starting this one, I had a chance to talk to Tony Owens, who's the owner of GCMC Mining, and the gentleman that produces the material that goes into Misskimoson's pay dirt. And we were talking about how to pronounce it correctly and where the name comes from. And it comes from the fact that he's from Mississippi, and that his nickname the whole time he was working in Mississippi was Eskimo, and that he has a son that works with him. So it's not Miss Chemo's sons, it's Misskimosons. Anyway, it was a fun conversation. All right, so these are the tailings from, let me see if you can see them right there. I'm going to put them on the table here because it's a lot more. So it's almost a full gallon bucket of the tailings from the San Pedro run. And as you know, we did get some gold out of that. This is one of those places where I was literally prospecting a dry riverbed. But I want to, again, I'm doing it so I can test out this new Prospector's Dream Combo mat. So let's see what we got here. Oh, I'll shut up and speed it up here. All right, well, as usual, we got your good news and we got your bad news. Well, I don't know. It's never bad news when you find gold, is it? Where's my pointer? Oh, it's my screwdriver here. So there's a flake right there. And then there's some little tiny flower gold right up here. And you got to remember, this is from that run that I made. I can't tell if those are floaters or not. I've got plenty of jet dry in here. So this came from that Arroyo, the San Pedro Arroyo. It was run, I don't know if you remember the run, but I don't know, we got like 5, 6, 7 gold flakes out of it, just about that size. So it looks like we did our job there, but in addition, it looks like this sluice got us just a little bit more gold, especially the flower stuff, which is what it did with Misskimoson's material. It got a lot of flower gold. So there's not going to be a great picture, but let me work on it. I'll turn you guys off now. Let me get the rest of this black material out, and then I'll get a picture for you of what looks like, I don't know, that flake and 2 or 3 little flower things. So I'm trying not to lose the flake. So I'll be back in a sec. So I guess there's good news. No, there's no bad news. So the good news is the first runs that I did for each of these samples, the Misskimoson's sample, Blue Tundra Delight sample, and the San Pedro Arroyo near Bosquecito sample. The first runs we did on them were good enough not to leave too much behind. Now, there was a lot of flower gold that was left behind. So that's the first bit of good news. The second bit of good news is that new Sluice, the new Prospector Dream combo mat seems to do what it's supposed to, and I like it a lot. It handled the real rocky material that came from the Blue Tundra Delight, and it handled the sandy material that came from San Pedro, and produced a little bit of gold. Now, I have put that gold in this tiny little vial here. There's not a lot, there's a couple of visible flakes, that were there. I don't know that there's enough to weigh it and make any sense of it, but here's the deal that I have. Since I'm not going to use this Prospector's Dream large mat anymore, I have no need for it. It's 6 by 16, so it'll fit into your 6 by 16 sluice, or partner it with another 6 by 16 mini mat or something. And then I have this gold that I got from that run, just a little bit. And I have this extra digital scale. So here's what I'm going to offer you. First of all, like the video, although that just helps me in terms of engagement. Make a comment on this video. And if this video gets to 500 views, then I will have a giveaway by selecting one of the comments, randomly selecting one of the comments. And I will send you this stuff, a little bit of gold, relatively new mat. I only made one run through this Prospector's Dream mat, and an unused scale. I got it with something. It was an extra in something that I bought, and I've never actually used it. And it's all there. It works, although you probably can't see it with all the light. But it's battery powered, so there we are. Okay, make a comment, and when we get to 500 views, I will use commentpicker.com to pick one of them at random, and I will send you this stuff. Okay? Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate it.